So I'm here at the Dowd water tank with Mike Cole, and we're talking about the Madison Pipeline project. Mike, give me a quick history of where we are with this project, how it started, and what the status is.
Sure. Actually started back in 2007, I believe. Number of studies and some preliminary work that was performed. There was a study titled the long-term water supply study for Gillette, and it looked at a number of different water supply sources. One of those, of course, being expanding our Madison well field. Some of the other areas were looked at were the bringing water from Lake DeSmet and from Clear Creek, using CBM water, looking at water from possibly Keyhole Reservoir, also looking at wastewater effluent. But ultimately, the most reliable long-term water supply source that was determined was the Madison Formation, just north of Keyhole and south of Devil's Tower in Crook County, Wyoming. Shortly after that study was completed, the city went through a grant application process with the state of Wyoming and received funding to commence a design and some of the easements and preliminary work for the project. That was in 2009 when that grant funding was awarded. The city then went out and solicited engineering firms for this project. Burns and McDonnell Engineering teamed up with Morrison Merrily, Dowell HKM, PCA, and some other local engineering firms, and they were selected to do the design and upfront estimates for our project. Shortly after they were hired, I was hired in 2009, about 5 years ago, July of 2009, and we went down a path of commencing the design and also working with our state legislature to secure funding for the project. Over the course of 5 years, we secured 6 separate appropriations for the project to the tune of approximately $150 million from the state of Wyoming in the form of a grant. And that grant funding, of course, comes from AML funding that's passed through from the federal government to the state of Wyoming. Also, there's some state budget reserve funding and some water development funding that comprises that grant. We are also successful at securing a $45 million loan from the state of Wyoming, and that helped us out up front as we started to build the project until such time that our capital facilities tax that was approved by the voters in May of 2011, once that started accumulating in revenue and we had an ability to match all the various state grant funding sources. Once we got all the funding sources secure, we've embarked on a number of construction projects. Some of the larger construction projects include about a 1.5 mile section of the Madison water line as part of WYDOT's Highway 50 project. We had just over 7 miles of pipeline as part of the Contract 3 project, which was along Westover and parts of Highway 50 and Southern Drive. We had just over 10 miles of 42-inch pipeline between the Southern Drive tank going through the Southern Industrial Business Park, a small portion of Highway 59, Union Chapel Road, and out across the rangeland towards Wyodak. Separately, we spent a good deal of time and effort exploring the potential for a new well field out near our existing Madison well field. We selected a site that is immediately north and west of the existing Madison well field. We contracted with Lane, which is a company that specializes in deep underground water wells. We successfully completed 2 test wells, and the data that we received as we sampled and tested those wells we have now incorporated into a final recommendation to move forward with another 3 wells on the same site. I think it's important to note that the Madison wells, the funding that we received from the state of Wyoming, they've appropriated enough funding for 5 Madison wells to be constructed immediately. Those 5 wells, the design estimate for each well is 1,400 gallons per minute. You multiply that by 5, and that's 7,000 gallons per minute of new water supply that will be available for the city of Gillette once this project is complete in 2016. Now, that doesn't mean that that's the long-term water supply for Gillette. All of the new pipelines and pump stations, electrical components, and other facilities are sized for an additional 16,000 gallons per minute. So we do have the ability over the next 20 to 30 years to add additional wells to our system without having to increase pipeline sizes and pump station sizes. In summary, that's kind of where we're at today. We do have a number of construction contracts as we move forward. One of those was just awarded here a few months ago, and we'll be kicking off the construction here later this month. That involves the new 42-inch pipeline between the Wyodak complex and Moorcroft, and it also includes some pipeline work up near Pine Ridge, near the city's water tanks, just north of Keyhole Reservoir up on the Pine Ridge Formation. We've also got some facility contracts that will be bid in the next 6 months. Those include the Pine Ridge Disinfection Facility, which is where we will chlorinate and treat the Madison water supply, and also the Donkey Creek Pump Station, which will be a redundant pump station located next to the existing pump station just on the west side of Rosette. Lastly, we've got the 3 Madison wells that we look to begin construction on those later this summer.
Gotcha. What's the current capacity of the existing Madison line? You talk about 7,000 gallons a minute.
Sure.
What do we have now?
Yeah, by comparison, in the early 1980s, the city, with assistance from the state of Wyoming, constructed the original Madison well field and the original 30-inch pipeline and tanks and pump stations to deliver water to Gillette. Over the last 30 years, the city, with assistance from the state of Wyoming, has added wells, a couple wells every 5 to 15 years. In the late 90s, the number of wells that were added to the system exceeded the pipeline capacity. That particular pipeline capacity is just under 8,500 gallons per minute. We try to keep that pipeline capacity right at about 8,000 gallons per minute during peak days in the summer. So by comparison, our new pipeline, our new 42-inch pipeline, will have a capacity of 16,000 gallons per minute, and our existing 30-inch pipeline has a capacity of roughly 8,000 gallons per minute.
Gotcha. So this is a 200% increase, really.
It really is, just for the Madison supply. Now keep in mind, we have 2,000 to just under 2,500 gallons per minute of capacity from our in-town Fort Union wells, Fox Hill wells. That water supply, of course, is dwindling, and we are going to augment that supply by increasing our dependency on the Madison Formation.
Gotcha. Tell me a little bit about the partnerships with the state and the WWDC and how that
Sure.
teamwork between the cities, the counties, and the state really made this project happen.
Well, let me kind of break it up into 3 components. There are 3 major components to this project. The first one, of course, is our water supply project, which includes the new Madison wells, the pipeline, and the pump station and tanks. The large diameter water supply features that deliver water to the Gillette area. That particular component is funded on a 2/3 grant by the state of Wyoming. The state's picking up roughly $150 million of those costs, and the remaining 1/3 is being picked up initially by a loan. We have secured a $45 million loan with the state, but ultimately by the local capital facilities tax that was approved by the Campbell County voters in May of 2011. The excuse me, $75 million amount that was approved by the voters is earmarked for the water supply phase of this project. The second component to this project is the district extensions. And what that involves is there are a number of existing water districts and improvement and service districts that are within Campbell County, located within generally the Donkey Creek watershed, that can be served by the Gillette regional water system. A number of these water districts are experiencing some issues with their individual wells, whether it's not enough quantity to supply their demands, or the quality of the water has degraded to a point where they need to look at another water supply source. Again, back in 2011, we went through and did a very detailed and rigorous study and questionnaire of all the districts. At that time, the districts kind of identified, what their desires were in terms of connection to the Gillette area water supply project. The total cost of extending all of the pipelines to all of these water districts within the Gillette regional service area is right at $60 million. Now, when we approved our capital facilities tax back in May of 2011, we set aside $20 million of that tax to pay for 1/3 of the cost to extend these pipelines out to all of these existing water districts. And then over time, as priorities become prevalent, we have been working with the county and applying for grant funding through the Wyoming Water Development Commission. To date, I believe we've received just under $7 million in grant funding through the Water Development Commission, and in turn we're matching about $3.5 million of that to go towards the first Priority 1 extension project. And actually, Joe, that first priority includes the Force Road area, which is immediately west of the tank site that we're standing on. It also includes some extensions for the Antelope Valley area, including the Antelope Valley Business Park and the Antelope Valley Improvement and Service District.
Let's back up just real quick. The cap tax was for $110 million.
That's correct.
75 was for the city. 20 was for the district extensions. What was the remainder for?
There was a $15 million appropriation that was set aside for I believe the town of Wright and the Wright Water and Sewer District for water improvements in their area. Okay. So it truly was a tax that benefited most of the citizens of Campbell County when you include the Gillette regional area and the Wright regional area.
Gotcha. And we have tell me about the working relationship between the city, your office, and the WWDC and the state office.
Sure. Number of different state agencies that are involved with this project. Of course, the Wyoming Water Development Commission, they are administering all of the state grant and loan funding on behalf of the state. They're essentially our banker for this project. And when we go through designs and construction bids and just the general scope of our project from an engineering and construction standpoint, the Water Development Commission and their staff are key in making decisions and approving recommendations from our consultants and from the city of Gillette. I look to them again as our banker, and when you're building a big project, you need to have the support of your lending institution to move forward. Other state agencies involved, of course, the State Engineer's Office. They are instrumental in acquiring new water rights for the expanded Madison well field. The Office of State Lands and Investments has been key. Number of the facilities are being installed on public lands managed by the Office of State Lands and Investments. The Wyoming DEQ, they have the permitting authority. They regulate and oversee all of the permits associated with the project from a health and safety standpoint to protect the public health and safety, as well as looking out for the environment. We really don't have a huge federal interest in this project. We do have a number of state and county roads that we will be installing facilities within state and county right-of-way. Both, of course, Campbell County has been fantastic to work with, as well as WYDOT. WYDOT's been very generous in allowing us to utilize portions of their right-of-way for installation of the pipeline and other facilities. But yeah, from a federal standpoint, aside from the federal AML money that's that's been appropriated to the state of Wyoming and then distributed back to Gillette for some of the grant funding, there really is very little federal participation with the project.
Gotcha. Tell me, okay, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
What's your best guess for the, I won't even say the month in 2016 when you think the taps turn on and water's flowing?
That's a good question. You know, right now how the schedule is laid out and how the program is laid out, up until this last year, the critical path for our project has always been the funding, securing the funding, making sure we've got a good cash flow to build the project. I guess for the first time after this last legislative session in 2014, that is no longer the critical path. Our critical path now is within the pipelines, and more importantly, our well field, completion of our well field. Assuming that we get through all of the permits and regulatory issues with the new wells, and assuming that we move forward and secure all of the remaining easements and permits for the last pipeline section, which is going to be between Moorcroft and Pine Ridge, I anticipate we should have water available towards the end of 2016. Might be as early as the fall, September or October of 2016, but to allow for a little bit of float there, I'd say by the end of 2016 is a good target. Now, of course, that assumes that we get right on these wells. I see that as being our critical path in terms of our schedule and completing the project.
Anything else you'd like to add?
Just have really enjoyed this project up to this point. It's been a great experience for me, of course, and from a technical standpoint, and from just a very rewarding project. And it's fun to be involved in these types of large multidiscipline projects.
And this is one of the largest municipal projects in state history, is that
well,
correct?
yeah, someone told me that. I in terms of current dollar amount, I think that is true. There's been a number of large state-funded, highway projects and even water supply projects. I think this particular Gillette project is similar in size and scope to some of the projects that have been completed for other communities like Cheyenne, Casper, the Cody, Powell, Northwest Wyoming, Shoshone area. I know the Green River, Rock Springs area had a very large water supply project completed a number of years ago. Our neighbors to the west over in Sheridan had one completed in the 90s as well. So, in terms of dollar amount, yeah, I would have to say this is probably one of the largest projects that the state has undertaken. from a public standpoint.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Well, thanks for visiting with us, Mike Cole. I don't know how to wrap it up. What do you want me to do? Thank you.
I love you.
Yeah, give you a
Hugs all around.
I had one of those weird cramps. Yeah. Shake hands.
handshake. Yeah.
I don't think we need...
Blah, 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 blah.
I told you guys.